Welcome in. This is the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your BMW Championship Mega Preview Pods, your storylines, your best bets, and everything else in between. Joining me to break it all down, Mark Immelman is here. Mark, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, boys. Second week of the playoffs. Let's go. To a
Second week of the playoffs.
Yeah, come on.
They just started, and they're almost over, is the way it goes with just a three-leg sprint. Greg DuCharme is here. Gregors, hey, buddy.
Gentlemen, good to be back. Sorry I missed a couple shows last week, but this is how life goes. Things get crazy sometimes, and especially come playoff time, things get really crazy. So thanks for covering for me, and I'm excited to be here for the rest of the week for the BMW Championship.
No worries. It'll be reflected in our year-end report that you missed 2 episodes last week. But other than that, no, we're very,
You should have seen the blowback in the chat when you went around, Greg. It was we were taken apart by the fans.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, what would you do without me? I guess you found out last week.
We could hear the audible sound of everyone clicking X on their browser when you weren't here.
That's not true. I saw the
before they did, right? It's like, and then they click, gone.
Yeah. Sigh, click. That was exactly what it was. About 1,000 times. I'll tell you what, Gregors, welcome back. I'm gonna do it this way. I have no preference on where we start. Let me give you a couple options. We can do changes to the golf course. We're going to Caves Valley for the second time in this tournament's history, first since 2021. We can do Ryder Cup pressure, Ryder Cup implications. We can do the season of Patrick Cantlay, who's won this event twice, and kind of grading and looking ahead to his week, or we could talk the return of Rory McIlroy. Your call. I'll go wherever you want.
All right, we'll have our on-air production meeting, which I'm a fan of. This is full transparency behind the curtain. Working backwards, I would say we do the golf course before the grid. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think we could do Cantlay before that.
Okay.
I think we do Ryder Cup before that and start with Rory.
All right. I'm writing it in the outline right now. Rory McIlroy back in action. He is the number 2 player in the FedEx Cup standings. He obviously took a week off last week in Memphis, but here we go, getting to the home stretch. This is has been accurately reported, over-reported, or under-reported, Greg, the decision that he made to skip out on the first leg of the playoffs?
Well, this, I don't know. This depends on your perspective and what the reporting is. If you're criticizing Rory McIlroy for the decision, in my opinion, you're wrong. If you're criticizing the format of the playoffs, in my opinion, you're correct. So I have nothing against Rory McIlroy. Like, go do what you have to do to win the Tour Championship. Now, his intentions may be more like winning the away Ryder Cup. That's up for individuals to decide. But from a competitive standpoint, it made no difference for him. And it's his job to do what's in his best interests. So while it's upsetting, and I think it highlights a problem with the playoff system, it's not on Rory. This isn't like Rory against the media earlier this year. This isn't a bad attitude kind of thing like we saw from Rory earlier this year.
Worth noting, we're not at full strength this week, not at 50, 49. Sepp Straka opting out. Personal private matters. He did not expand on that. Mark, Rory McIlroy, we have not seen play professional golf since the Open Championship. That was coming up on about 3.5 weeks ago. But the way that he's played over his last 3, T6 at the Travelers, a runner-up finish at the Scottish Open, and that T7 at the Open Championship, I assume expectations are pretty high considering we'll be at Eastlake next week. And I believe you've told me he can roll out of bed and finish inside the top 10 there.
Yeah, he can. He won that thing being 7 strokes behind Scottie on the first tee and 10 strokes behind Scottie after the first hole. I think the last time he won it, when he started with a triple there at Eastlake. But as far as Rory goes, I think everything is newsworthy now, especially with social media. And he had told us earlier in the year that he was not planning on playing the first one. He can do that. independent contract, and he's got to do what he's got to do to bring his best stuff out. Now, as far as his game is, I saw him play in Scotland. I thought he looked really sharp after time off. I think in Ireland, he didn't have his best stuff, but I thought he played the game very well, given the pressure of shouldering the hopes of a nation the entire week in your attempts to win the Claret Jug. So I thought that was just nice golf played. So you would think now, with an idea of how and where the golf swing was, where the game was, he's coming to the Mid-Atlantic where he's been pretty good before. He's won a US Open just up the road from Baltimore. So I think the expectations should be high. Because just like a Xander Schauffele, for argument's sakes, he tends to play around this time of the year very well.
If you care about history, finished fourth here at Caves Valley in 2021. We'll talk about the changes coming up here in just a little bit, as Greg has outlined on this show already. Now, Greg, he is not going to have a chance to ease into this golf tournament because going out at 11:16 a.m. in round number one, because of his FedEx Cup rankings, he is alongside one Scottie Scheffler. So the mega group for the first 2 days at least will give us an opportunity to look at what are likely the two best players in the world.
Yes. If all goes well, these two will be playing together all 4 days because they're near the top of the leaderboard. Also important to note on Scottie Scheffler, he will not be with Ted Scott this week. Just like Sepp Straka, he's out for a personal matter, and Scottie will be with Chris Kirk's typical caddy. Not a bad bag to find, if you don't have a job for the second leg of the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's not a bad one.
The consolation of finishing 51st and getting knocked out. Sorry, Chris, you go home. Your caddy's now on the bag of the best player in the world.
I'm totally blanking on his name.
Cromie.
Brian. Say that again, Mark.
His name is Brian.
Brian Cromie.
I thought his name was Mike Cromie.
Forget. Yes, it is Mike.
Okay, Mike Cromie. Yep. Okay. So anyway, look, I think for Scottie Scheffler, he's as capable as anyone of handling that. But just so the record states, every one of his 17 PGA Tour wins, all 4 of his majors, the Olympics, everything he's won on the PGA Tour has come with Ted Scott alongside of him. But I also think that Scottie has gotten a whole lot better in a lot of areas. And while I'm not undermining or underestimating what Ted Scott does on a weekly basis, I still think Scottie will be a major factor this week.
Let me dive into that, Mark, because you and I had a conversation on Sunday about this, and I thought you were spot on. I was there in Memphis, and I thought that, to your words, Scottie Scheffler's routine, his pace was a little bit disrupted. He had more on his plate to do than a normal rounds. Now, this is a little bit of a different story. The only 2 times that I can remember no Ted Scott on the bag is with Brad Payne on the bag, who was filled in for 1 round at a time. This is a full tournament of Mike Cromie with practice rounds, getting into, hey, this is what I like to hear, this is what I don't want to hear. All that, this feels like a different situation.
Yeah, first off, here's my mea culpa. I've actually called Mike Brian before to his face.
Oh no!
You just cannot remember this guy's name.
Looks like a Brian to me. Anyhow, here's the thing about Mike, who's a fantastic player in his own right. Played at Georgia, really sees the game well. He's a very sharp decision maker. I've had Chris Kirk a few times over the last few weeks. One where he was in a playoff with the 3M, and then in the final round for a bit there at the Wyndham. So I've watched the two of them interact and work together. And the way Chris Kirk plays, sort of the speed at which he moves a little bit, his reaction to golf shots, is very similar to Scheffler. Very routine-based, unhurried, unfazed. If they show emotion, it's nothing drastic. So I think for a bag for Mike to fit onto, I don't think it's going to be that big a change of scenery, and I really don't. And I think then from the more important aspect of it, for Scottie Scheffler, I think the delivery of the information for those rhythms I spoke about and the routines and that is going to be a little tighter because Mike is very quick and very sharp like that. So I think if it was a match made in heaven as a replacement for Ted Scott, it's Mike Cromie. So I don't think Scottie misses a beat this week. I don't.
Well, as mentioned, they're going to play together in the first 2 rounds. So we're going to see a lot of hopefully great golf from those two as they try to make this run to the Tour Championship. Remember, without starting strokes this year. So you just got to get yourself into the top 30. Those two are going to have no problem. They will be at East Lake and they will be competing for the FedEx Cup. All right, Greg, next up, we're going to the Ryder Cup conversation. I think that's a natural transition. Rory McIlroy, yeah, he'll be there. Scottie Scheffler, yeah, he'll be there. There are a couple other notables, but things are starting to get a little hairy as we have 2 events to go before Captain Keegan Bradley has to make a decision. Mina, I have loaded in that image there. It says Ryder Cup standings. That is currently, there you go. It's from ESPN, so a little bit easier to read here. This is the current Team US standings. And as of right now, in absolutely qualified, they will be there. Scottie Scheffler, JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele. We're actually going to start there, Greg, because Mark and I talked about this a little bit on Sunday. I'm not sure if you had JJ Spawn being number 2 in the American Ryder Cup standings with 2 events to go, but here we are.
Yes, locked in. Lock it up and throw away the key. I mean, I didn't have that, and I'm hard. It's hard to say I'm wrong because I don't think JJ Spawn had that either. You know, things have just changed in a very dramatic way for him. And what I'm so proud of, and I didn't get to talk about this on Sunday, so I apologize. But what I love about watching JJ Spawn in this playoff against Justin Rose, who also lost in a separate playoff to Rory McIlroy at the Masters, JJ Spawn didn't look nervous. He didn't win, but he was a totally different player than he was on 16 on the first playoff hole at TPC Sawgrass. And he was a completely different player in contention at the U.S. Open after the rain delay. And he came in here this week, played head-to-head with Scottie Scheffler, beat him by 2, gets into a playoff with Justin Rose, and makes a 30-footer in the playoff, flags it on another playoff hole, striped 3-wood off the tee. It was a world-class performance, and it just highlights the kind of year that he's had. He's gotten better in just about every category.
Those 3 will almost certainly be joined by Russell Henley, Bryson DeChambeau, and Harris English. They are 4, 5, and 6. Even if they were to fall below that automatic qualification line, number 6, very, very likely that they are on the team. Things are starting to get a little iffy after that, Mark. So 7, 8, and 9 in the standings are Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, and Ben Griffin. Are we positive those 3 are on the team?
Well, first off, there's 100 points with, is my math wrong? Yeah, there's 100 points between Harris and JT, correct?
Very tight, very tight.
So that's kind of tight. So that's not a given. So someone like a JT is a lot to play for. Yes, the way I sort of see it to your question, I think from 11 through 15, you throw a blanket over those guys and you could pick any 2 of that group, because I still think Keegan's solid at 10 unless he has a really rough outing. But again, so he makes his picks now, or is it after the Tour Championship? Because we get the locks figured out by the end of this week, correct?
I'm pretty sure it's after. Yes, that is correct. So the conclusion of the BMW Championship is the
6.
locks. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. I believe it is after the Tour Championship, Greg, that he's going to make those picks.
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
So to that, so you got guys like, of those guys 11 through 15, and I honestly think that Keegan is safe, because he, with his ranking on the FedEx Cup, is going to go to East Lake as far as I know. So is Ben Griffin. So they got more golf ahead. Those other guys down there, they got a little playing to do, some of them, to make sure they get to East Lake. I haven't looked at the final where the 50 is. But that's where I see all of the movements going to start happening. Right now, personally, I'm still leaning to Brian Harman and a Cameron Young. I think Andrew Novak is going to have a lot of say-so because he played really gutsy golf last week. Maverick McNeely's a wild card for me right now. I know he putts great, but he really hasn't played that well for a bit. So that area right there, 11 through 15, is where the rubber meets the road for me.
Here's what's interesting, Greg. Because the point system is tied to dollars. So right now, a 1 point. Are they doing 1 point per
$1,000
per $1,000? Okay, I wanted to make sure that was still for playoff events as well. So 1 point per $1,000. So if somehow Andrew Novak earned, let's call it, well, I know the number, it's $873,000 more than Keegan Bradley did this week, he would overtake Keegan Bradley in the rankings. Maverick McNeely needs about $600,000 to overtake him. If for some reason Cam Young, maybe he wins this golf tournament, he has now overtaken Keegan Bradley. I'm starting to think there's a chance that Keegan does not pick himself.
I think it's a pretty common thought, Rick. It's getting more and more common now that Cameron Young won and Andrew Novak played well last week. That really helps. McNeely's had a couple nice weeks. You know, it helps because for a while it was like, okay, you don't want Keegan to play. Well, who are you going to replace him with? Like nobody's done it. Nobody's doing anything.
Yes. And
now they are.
When he was 7th and playing well, it's a different story. Now he's 10th. What if he's 11th? What if he's 11th and you still have Patrick Cantlay on the outside of the top 13?
It starts to get real hairy if one of those guys that Mark mentioned, right, 11 to 15, Cantlay, Cam Young, Harman, Novak, McNeely, if one of those guys wins, see, so Patrick Cantlay is at 6,570 points. A win would get him 3,600 points. So that would be 10,100 points, which would be like eighth.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, it would definitely be ahead of Keegan Bradley.
Yes. Keegan could not.
But not only that, it would move, let's say it moved Morikawa down, Griffin down. Those guys you would still want on the team. And all of a sudden, Keegan's in 11th. And
everyone ahead of him is a lock. And Cam Young is still outside. Andrew Novak is outside. McNeely is on 12. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it gets tight.
Well,
but I will say this lastly, real quick, Mark. I think that Keegan got a taste and came to terms with the fact that he's going to pick himself. And I think he's accepted it. And I think it's really hard to turn around and say, never mind. He's 39 years old. Okay. This could very well be his last chance to make a Ryder Cup team. I know Justin Rose just won at 45 and made the European Ryder Cup team. Playing in American golf is a totally different animal. It could be his last chance. I think it'd be really hard for him to say no to himself.
Yeah, I'm really with you there. I feel like we're going to have a lot of hysteria for Keegan not to play. I'm just saying so. So I'm going to go with the things I know for certain. Because like I said, there's a lot of movement there. And I feel like if there's one inside the 12 that might get axed, I have a sense it may be Maverick McNeely just for some strange reason. Because you've got experience on either side of you. And there's Cantlay waiting in the wings. He's playing better. He's won at this golf course before. But here's what I know for certain. Sam Burns is not making the team. Jordan Spieth, Greg, is
out.
Definitely not. Okay, wait. Because you were trying to sell me on that last time. Yeah, so those guys are down there. Chris Gotterup has got to pull off the miraculous because there was a lot of chit-chat around him. He's got to do something crazy over the next couple of weeks to make the team. I still think
he got replaced by Cam Young.
Yep.
It was like a straight up replacement.
It's like, we've got our bomber. Thanks.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep. So those are the things I know for certain.
Well, it's a perfect segue to Patrick Cantlay, who is making things very difficult for this conversation. 15th in the Ryder Cup standings, but now he goes to a place that he's won, an event that he has won twice. He's going for the hat trick, and it's been a good question mark year, Greg, for Patrick Cantlay. He's coming off the 9th place finish at TPC Southwind. He had the 4th place finish at the Truist Championship earlier this year. That was his best result. Couple of top fives, the Genesis, which was played at Torrey Pines, the American Express earlier this year. What grade are you giving Patrick Cantlay's 2025 season right now?
It is at best C, like C minus.
Wow.
Now, there's been good golf. I understand your point. I look at these numbers, and I think his iron play is better than it's been in recent years. 8th in strokes gained approach, still hitting a ton of greens. He's 11th in that category. You look at strokes gained total, he's 10th on the PGA Tour. That's I think a pretty valuable metric to how somebody has played. The problem when you're grading someone like Patrick Cantlay is, strokes gained total might be valuable in picking a player on a Ryder Cup team or picking somebody to play well at the BMW Championship. But Patrick Cantlay's grade, in my opinion, has a lot more to do with specific events because of where he's gotten to in his career. And when you go out and miss 3 cuts in major championships at that level, it's not taking the next step. I understand Xander Schauffele, backing up a step after winning 2 majors last year, dealing with a rib injury. I understand some of those fall offs. But grading Patrick Cantlay, this is set up to be, great opportunity in the major championships, and he didn't deliver. So that's a concern for me when I'm looking at the report card.
The report card, I'm interested in getting your thoughts on, Mark, as well. But here is from Patrick Cantlay's press conference today. I'm reading through the transcripts. He was asked, "Have you added a new putting coach?" He says, "Yes. I started working with Phil Kenyon recently, and we're still in the early stages. So hopefully I'll do so." I guess he said it like this. "So hopefully I'll do anything to make a few more putts." There was no follow-up. There was no other conversation about this, but I thought that was noteworthy as I was reading through this.
It was, because I'm a big one for information from the horse's mouth. And I was preparing to call him at the Heritage. RBC Heritage at Hilton Head. And so I caught up with Joe LaCava, who caddies for him. And I'm like, "Joe, I like the way things are looking." And he said, "Mark, he's just going to make some putts inside of 15 feet. And that has been sort of the story of the entire year. So I think the addition of Phil Kenyon's a good idea. Kenyon's helped a lot of golfers, including one Scottie Scheffler, just to get a different tune. But the thing about Cantlay, I think if you had to ask him the question how he'd grade himself, he'd probably give himself a C, because he's a major championship campaigner. And him filling fields and finishing like 33rd at the Valero Texas Open and 36th at the Masters and 33rd at Pebble. And then here's another one, miscut at the PGA, 32nd at the Rocket Classic. That's not Patrick Cantlay. I'm sorry. Now, here of late, he's showing a little form, the top 10 at Memphis, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he plays well this week. It's a different golf course because of the changes, but it's the same vibes, it's the same feeling, and it's bent greens, and he putts bent greens well. That he does do. So I think he's just going to make, back to the Keegan Bradley decision, he's going to make Keegan's decisions even harder, because the worst person in the world to be right now is Keegan Bradley, as far as I'm concerned.
I heard Davis Love say something really interesting with regards to Ryder Cup picks. He was like, "Look, we know how these guys are playing. We don't have to look at the sheet of recent form. But what we're wondering with the picks is, who are we going to pair them with?" And when I heard that, I don't know if that's exactly Keegan's strategy, and I'm sure these things have weights, but you got the best American pairing in the last 10 years if you take Patrick Cantlay on your team.
Yep.
I also wanted to add one thing. these are Patrick Cantlay's strokes gained putting ranks from 2022 to recent. 28th in 22, 47th, 53rd, and this year 78th. It's gotten slightly worse the last 4 years. What you were saying, Mark, and what Joe LaCava was saying, it checks out in the numbers.
Cool.
We just threw up a poll in the chat, or Mina did, asking the viewership if Keegan is picking himself. And it is split. 53% say no, he's not. 46% say yes, he is. So right around that coin flip, it's going to be a long couple weeks for Captain Keegan. Very nice segue with Patrick Cantlay's success at this golf course, but now it's kind of a new golf course. And Sam Clark, one of our Patreon members, with a question in regards to the changes that have been done and what to look forward to in 2025. Sam says, are we likely to see a harder course and a higher winning score than we saw in 2021 with the changes? And really, he wants to know how much stock should we be putting into past performance with that 1 year. Now, Greg, we were talking about this a little bit before we went hot. These changes all happened in 100 days. They just completely went bonkers on this. Every green surface was touched. In terms of Sam's question in regards to scoring to par will absolutely be worse. 27 under par in 2021. However, they have changed 2 of the par 5s to par 4s. So par is a social construct. Par will definitely be worse this time around.
So that makes it 19 under right there, which is still very scoreable. I mean, it was the second easiest golf course on tour in 2021. But what makes it the length that's an easy way to adjust scoring. I don't have a problem with it. It just is what it is. But what from the sounds of it, what could really affect the scoring is they put sub air onto the greens, and they have the ability to apparently, I mean, I've only read this. Apparently they have the ability to make them firmer. Control the moisture, even if they do get rain, you can kind of control that a little bit. That's a big addition, and it's very helpful. So when I look at a golf course, we see it all the time. It can be as long as you want. They're going to tear it up if it's receptive. Like you just got to go look at TPC Craig Ranch. It's really long. They shoot really low scores there. Mexico, really long. They go really low. It's not about the length. It's about the firmness of the greens. They also narrowed some fairways, and apparently the rough's going to be about an inch longer. So I think that you're probably looking at a winning score of 15 under or so, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think personally, even with the changes, you've got to be in the mid-teens just to be competitive. It's just the game is so stout right now. It really is. And
you just got to make birdies.
Yeah, and as far as rough goes, unless it's like super thick and chop out stuff from rye overseed, which is what you're likely to see, the PGA Tour guys do better out there because it's a bit more predictable. When they're playing out of Bermuda rough like last week, it's a lottery. You can't make decisions out there. It's a professional guess. So I'm expecting the scoring still to be pretty good, even though the greens are going to be firmer and faster.
It's a great point on that Mark Ruff, on that Ruff Mark.
On that Mark Ruff.
Like the distance guys, if you're really long, this stuff will be short. Having shorter clubs in is an advantage. You'll be in a better position, and you'll be able to hit out of it. And sometimes it sits up a little bit, you can get good lies. The Bermuda, it doesn't matter if it's a lob wedge or a 4-iron. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
The course, there's a really good, it's like a 12-minute video on the PGA Tour's YouTube channel where they show some of the changes, lengthening it, or, kind of borrowing some yardage from one hole, putting into another hole, adding a little more risk for the drivable-ish par 4. So it's a really good thing to look at. But like Greg said, a lot of the work was done kind of underneath the surface. It was irrigation. It was the sub air. It was that type of stuff as well. I'm going to field a couple of questions here that I find interesting. So one, I'll hit this one from Patreon real quick. So this is from LVL, who is a supporter of ours. He says, it's only the second time we play this golf course. Are there golf courses that the PGA doesn't play at all, but you guys think they should? And I guess for this, Mark, let us suspend the idea that they need the infrastructure, because that's really what stops a lot the professional golf from going to a lot of courses.
Yeah, Marion, if you're doing that.
Okay, that was easy. First one off the top of your head. That just was immediate.
Greg?
So I read this question and I'm thinking of infrastructure. You know, where, because there are so many golf courses that are capable of hosting a PGA Tour event, you know, from the tee to the green. But there are so many that are not, because of what's around the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Travelers hosts a signature event. It's 6,800 yards. It's short. The property is enormous. You know, it's in a cornfield. It's like they have the whole northern half of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Right. They got everything. So they can host it. So, geez, let's see. What's a really good golf course that a PGA Tour event?
We'll start going with all this stuff up and down Long Island, Greg. I mean, you can start over there, huh?
Yeah.
National Golf Links and those sorts of places.
They're very weather dependent.
Like
that. You go to Shinnecock. National, they would tear up. Friar's Head would be really cool.
Yeah.
Friar's Head's awesome.
Did they play what did they play during driving relief? Seminole?
Yep.
Because they didn't need the infrastructure.
Yep. That was a cool opportunity. I like Congaree. I like the PGA Tour events at Congaree.
Talk about lack of, well, there's space, but there's not. Well, they're doing stuff there to improve the infrastructure. They're very high on bringing a team event over there. They're really high on that idea.
I always thought it would be fun, and this will never, ever happen, to do an event at something like the Bandon courses, one round at each at 4 different courses.
And everyone stays intense.
Everyone stays intense, and we will wait until the weather gets bad. Like we're not going to play this in unseasonably warm and not windy conditions. I want to see it. Did you see the U.S. Women's Am that was just played there last week? And the wind has to be minimum blowing 30 miles an hour, and we'll play a different course each of the 4 days.
Well, you got me thinking while we're up there. I'm a big fan of Sahali. I really am.
Oh, that's cool.
Got those redwood, massive conifers, evergreens on either side of the fairway. Yeah, you want to see them hem the boys in with driver, just take them back to Sahali. Yep.
That would be sick. Okay, that was good. I enjoyed that. Let us continue this conversation by going to the grid, the bets portion of the show. Mina has the grid, I'm sure, ready to rock and roll here. And if you've never seen this before, welcome in. This is where we choose a matchup, a finishing position, and 2 different winners for this week. Sometimes we delve into the without market and see if we can put a perfect grid together, which is what Mark has done this week. But we'll start with the finishing positions. And Greg, you and I, my friend, my goodness, let's continue to roll with this guy. Who is it?
This guy is Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler.
Big premium this week on driving to the golf ball. You look at what happened now, like Mark said, still the same feels here. Even though they changed the par, changed some things kind of under the hood. The guys that finished in the top 5 in 2021 were inside the top. They were all top 15 for the week in strokes gained off the tee. The top 4 players were top 20 off the tee entering the week, right? Driving to the golf ball is very important here, very advantageous. Ricky Fowler has been driving it like a champion. 4 out of his last 5 events, he's gained over 2.5 strokes off the tee. and the putter's not looking bad either. So I have him at plus 120 over Maverick McNeely.
I have him at minus 120 over Jason Day. Greg, I don't know if I might have told this story on Sunday. You weren't here. If I have told this story to the audience, I apologize, but bear with me. So we did this handicapping competition last week as part of the activation that we did with the golf bet team. And on Friday night, I was looking through the data and Ricky Fowler's name was just jumping off the screen at me. And I could not, he was the first name I wrote down and I was looking for ways to get him involved. And because he was still out on the golf course, he finished his second round Saturday morning. He was one of the last guys out on the golf course. I did not ever get anything down on Ricky Fowler the rest of the weekend. And I regretted it because what I saw was just like, we are rocking and rolling. So I'm very excited about this. Do you know what his minimum he needs to move on to East Lake is, his minimum finishing position?
I can help
All
you.
right.
Mark has it, maybe?
I do.
I could talk you through my general understanding of this. So
solo 13th or better.
Okay. Solo 13th or better in a 49 person field.
Right.
And that's the minimum. Cause I think last week he actually needed better than what his minimum ended up being. So I'm cool with that, Greg. I also like the idea that he is, he's kind of playing against himself. He's playing against a number. He's playing against a target that I think is good.
So Mark, that's the minimum, right?
That's
13th
minimum,
or better.
That's
all right. So he's got 1,032 points. Okay. Last year to get into the top 30, it took 1,617 points.
Wow.
Now I will say, if you look at the top 50, last year it took 1,096 to get into the top 50. This year it took 996. So 100 points less. So I'm estimating it's going to take 1,450 points to get in. And I think that when you look at these estimations, somewhere in that ballpark is going to be pretty good. So for Rick, that means that Ricky needs approximately 370 points,
which is
420 points,
and
which
points
is
quadrupled, right?
Points are quadrupled. So what I just said 420 points.
You did.
Fifth place is 440. Sixth place is 400. So
wow.
I would say that Ricky needs a top 5.
Wow. Big difference.
I'm going with the PGA Tour, so
I'll split the difference and I'll just take it's going to end up needing a 9th or better.
Yeah. It's probably somewhere in between. Splitting the difference is a good idea.
Oh,
but
hold on a second.
But it's not going to be that minimum.
Yeah, I agree. Look, the reality is you've got to get inside the top 10. You've got to be contending on Sunday afternoon. And I'm really high on Ricky Fowler right now. I was last week. I made the crazy prediction. I said I thought he had game enough to advance all the way to the Tour Championship, and he's one leg down. So let's just keep the thing rolling.
Keep it rolling. So that's Ricky Fowler over Jason Day for me. Ricky Fowler over Maverick McNeely for Greg. Andrew Novak, Mark over Taylor Pendrith. That's plus 115. That's a good number. I was not expecting to see that after what Novak did last week.
Yeah, or first team all guts, Novak. I was really high on him for a Ryder Cup berth earlier this season, but then the game tapered off. But you know what? He just showed gumption last week. He got himself in the mix. He gamed it out. And he's kind of a fair weather sort of a guy. So when the form was up, he just lets it fly. I'll never forget a story. He showed up at Hilton Head, right? And he grew up like 2 hours away. And he had never, ever played Hilton Head. In fact, during the Pro-Am, where they only played 9 holes, he saw only 9 holes of the place, and then played the front 9 the following day in the first round, and he and his caddy were taking notes on the golf course because it's the first time he had seen the front side. So this is a guy that's up for any battle, and I feel like right now he has got the red, white, and blue in his sights, and he's going after that star.
He and Ben Griffin trying to get themselves a pairing at Bethpage. So Greg and I are on Ricky Fowler in the matchup market. Mark, you are rolling with him in that top 20 market. The number you got there was plus 150.
Made money on a top 20 with him last week. I did. And I feel like a top 20 this week is, I don't want to say imminent because anything happens in golf, but the way he's swinging, the shots he was hitting, to Greg's observation with the statistics, the way he's driving it, Ricky looks to me like he's playing as well as he's played in a long, long time. And it's a timely arrival of some really good form.
The numbers bear that out as well. And Mark, you mentioned I had a note here. This exact same bet, we did not have to change it off the grid. Ricky Fowler top 20 for Mark last week. He cashed it. I think it was plus 200. Now it is plus 150. He's going right back to the well, saved us some typing and got a good number on it. Greg, your top 20 is a name that I don't see you type very often. Is that right?
I don't type it very often.
Wow.
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
I noticed when you were mentioning Novak and Pendrith and the number that Mark got on Novak, I think the books are heavily weighted on distance. If you look at just the matchups, the favorite in every matchup seems to be, excluding Scottie Scheffler matchups, the favorite's the longer player, which I found there's no short, long guys where the short guy's favored. Anyway, I'm picking a short guy here for a top 20 finish. That would be Brian Harman, top 20, plus 140. One, I like the number. Two, I like the way that he's been driving the ball as well. He's gained strokes in his last 4 events off the tee. In 3 of them, significant strokes. And he's putting really well, gaining over a shot and a half putting in his last 4 starts. That driver putter combo is lethal. Like Mark said, with Novak seeing red, white, and blue, Brian Harman is not going away. And he is going to make Keegan Bradley's job so hard this week. If you think the golf course is too big for him, he finished second at the longest course that we've ever played.
Aaron Hills.
So I'm not too worried about that. I think the quality of his driving will take care of the distance issue.
Plus 140 for Brian Harman to finish inside the top 20. I've gone with Johnny Vegas. He is not seeing red, white, and blue. He sees more yellow, blue, and red. The obviously Venezuelan flag. Johnny is the long hitter. Johnny is the guy who knocks the cover off the ball. He's not a good putter, but he does it for a couple rounds at a time. He can get hot enough. You give him 4 guaranteed rounds. I think Johnny's got a lot to play for, a lot of skill, and a pretty good fit for Caves Valley. The number I got on him was pretty long, plus 200. Again, 49 player field, asking him to finish just inside the top 50% of this board. So it's Vegas, Harman, and Fowler for us 3, all top 20s. The winner market, and I'll spoil this for a second here, Greg, because you have the audience worried. We need to know if we should call the doctor, our resident second cut doctor, if we need to get your head scanned, what do we need to do? Because I'll just say it right now, Scottie Scheffler does not appear on your grid.
I must have misread the tweet. When they said Ted Scott was out, I thought it was Scottie Scheffler out.
That's the only thing that would make me understand this.
I thought that Scottie's number was short, which it always is, and I'm never afraid of that. I think there are a lot of ways that he doesn't win this week. I think he's going to play well, but I think he's beatable this week. And maybe I just want him to win so bad. I figure if I'm wrong, maybe I'll stay away and he'll win. I'd be thrilled.
This is the life hedge.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to root for anybody, but I do. I root for Scottie.
Who did you end up going with?
I went with Rory McIlroy.
Oh, he's pretty good too.
Yeah, he's pretty good too. So not the favorite, but the second favorite. And I'll tell you why. Well, Rory came in 4th here in 2021, but he is, like, in his last 3 events, exceptionally hot with the putter. This is the kind of golf course I believe he's going to be able to just air it out with driver. He will love that. I think he'll be able to handle this rough. Whether he drives it in the fairway or not, he'll be able to handle it. A lot of holes on the front 9 have about a 310 carry to take bunkers out of play. On the back nine, you need more like 320 or 330. And I think Rory has both of those if he needs it. And in his last 3 events, he's gained over 4.5 strokes putting in all 3. So I like Rory with a red hot putter on a driver heavy golf course. So Rory.
8-1 for Rory McIlroy. Hold that thought for a second, Greg. I think I need to check on both of you guys. Mark doesn't have Rory on his card. Greg doesn't have Scottie on his. We're living in bizarro world. Mark, what's your first outright?
Maybe Mina mistyped this all and she got the 2 blocks confused there.
Yeah, that's it.
Nah, Mina never makes mistakes. No,
we'll see on Sunday, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, here's the way I see it. I don't want to say I bet against Scottie, but whenever he's in the list, I'm like, that's intellectually lazy. And if you're picking Scottie, then you're like, oh, whatever. You're not really going out on a limb. Now, it could be you could say the same thing for Rory McIlroy. But I was on a show earlier this week after watching Scottie again last week. And I'm like, you got to be a fool not to bet Scottie Scheffler. Just the guy is just so complete. Even last week when he didn't win, he had an opportunity to win. So when he doesn't win, he's still threatening. So I know Scottie Scheffler is going to be around Sunday afternoon. And I know he's coming in here with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, I'm certain, for not getting the win last week and getting pipped by JJ Spawn in the same group. So I'm like, no, I don't care what the line is. I'm going with Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, and he was playing catch up from JJ right away. JJ holed out and birdied the first hole and left Scottie in his dust a little bit, but still at the end of the day, finished 1 shot out of that playoff. Even his B game is better than most. Mark, while we're here, I love what you've done here. You have just eliminated Scheffler and Rory McIlroy from your next outright. You have walked into the without market. So who's your selection in the without Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy market?
Well, I'm doing this to prove to you guys that I listen to the 2 of you because you're experts. And this is hedging my bets a little bit with Scheffler. So I'm going with Cantlay without Scheffler and McIlroy in the field at 18-1. So let's go, Pat. It's time for some good golf.
It's
all right.
time.
The perfect grid is live.
It's time, Pat. It would make for a hell of a Ryder Cup conversation, and it would create a potentially perfect grid for Mark. Well done. Greg, you and I share the same golfer. We overlap here. He's 30-1. I think we're going to talk about his name a lot over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. Who is it, please?
It is Cameron Young.
Hell yeah.
Love the way that this guy's been playing. And here's what I like. There's a reason for it. So he's gained over 4.5 strokes off the tee in his last 2 events. And he had been kind of spotty with that beforehand. Gained over 3 strokes on approach in his last 2 events. And when you look specifically at the ball striking, he changed something 10 days before the Wyndham. So this is after the Open Championship. He started hitting a draw, only a draw. Now, it's not that this golf course fits a draw or a fade better. I don't necessarily believe that I think either shot shape can work at pretty much any golf course. But what he's done is he's found something that works, and it's something that he used to do. So it's familiar. It's home. He's back. And that's why I believe that he's fully back. Having a great putting season. And it's kind of you got bent grass greens like he grew up on. Couldn't be better.
Preach, Reverend DuCharme. I will not add anything else to that. Cam Young, 30-1. I rounded out with a 40-1 Hideki Matsuyama. There's just something brewing here. He's just striking it beautifully. We've seen the putter get scorching hot. It doesn't matter if this is going to be 27 under. It's not. Or 15 under, maybe. Hideki can compete and contend. We're getting there. We're getting there for Hideki, and 40-1 is too long.
Rick, I need your help. Did you watch him play last week?
I did watch him play last week. Watched him play a lot last week.
So you going with a good striking on data or watching him play?
This is mostly data. Okay. But what were you so offended by his play last week?
No, I'm not offended. It's just Hideki is just wildly inconsistent right now. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Matsuyama. I really am. But he can't put together 4 rounds right now.
Mark, is that where the ball goes or his reaction to the shot?
No, it's not his.
I'm just teasing.
No, I was there. I saw him at full flight in the President's Cup, right? It was in a match. He and Sung J.M. took down someone in the 5-0 escapade on the Friday morning. And Hideki didn't miss a shot. And he didn't miss a putt. And I was like, wow, this is the guy that I know. And then he tied Scottie Scheffler in singles. And he got up there on the final hole, which was tight, and just blistered driver down there first off the tee. But here of late, he just doesn't look that convincing to me. So I was interested in what you saw in him.
Yeah, I think that you're right. He has not put 4 rounds together, and if he did, I think he'd probably be about 25-1 in this field if he was playing a little bit better. So this is a belief in the pedigree that he does not foreshadow these really great weeks, right? He doesn't usually play himself into victories. He just kind of shows up and wins, and when it clicks, it clicks. And I think 40-1 is just too long for this man.
It's a good number. All right, I'm buying what you're selling.
Hideki, Cameron Young twice, Rory McIlroy, Scottie Scheffler, and Patty Ice, Patrick Cantlay, without Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, concludes the grid for us. Mark, we usually say goodbye to you here and continue with the fantasy portion of the show. Any final thoughts, interesting nuggets, fun things to do, book recommendations before we get out of here?
Yeah, roll tide. I'm on my way to Tuscaloosa to drop my daughter Izzy off at college. So we all decked out and we're ready to go. We won't join you guys on Friday night, but I'll see you on Sunday.
All right. Congratulations, Izzy. Roll tide.
Roll tide.
Safe travels. We'll talk to you soon, brother. Thank you, Mark.
You guys.
All right. Take care. All right, Gregors. We've got a little bit more work to do. We're going to focus our attention on the DraftKings market, the DFS market, allow us to talk about a few more golfers. We'll start with your golfer of the week. We'll go down into each one of the tiers and see if we can find a little bit of value for this week. Only 49 golfers. Every week I say, give me the guy. You look through everybody. You consider their salaries. You consider their play, their course fit, everything in between. The first click goes to who, Mr. Greg?
Cameron Young.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
It's so good. I think from a DFS perspective, Scottie's really hard to build a lineup with this week. He's priced really high. There's no 5K range, and the field is short. We'll get into that. That took... So the top end guy, that's part of the reason why neither Scottie or Rory is in there. And what I'm seeing out of Cameron Young with good reasoning behind it is flush and long. For him to finish 5th at the FedEx St. Jude, for him to win at Wyndham, these are driving accuracy courses. You know what kind of control of Cameron, what kind of control of his golf ball he needs to finish top 5 at both of those venues in back-to-back weeks? It's uncommon, if you will.
And now he gets to kind of bomb it around a little bit. And he found something that works that he's done before. It's not just like he won and got hot. He found something that works. And you go win by 6 like he did at the Wyndham. I know it's the Wyndham, but I think you get into a field like this and you feel like you can run with Scheffler or McIlroy. He's shooting numbers that are hard for those guys to even catch. $9,800. There are 7 golfers more expensive than he. Now, Greg, my little eye notices something about this graphic. This does not look like our normal graphic. This is different.
Yes.
Do you notice that?
Well, I don't know what that is behind him.
Okay. That's the key.
What is it?
Oh, Greg.
Is that
the interior
interior of a driving machine?
You are just an uncultured swine. You don't even understand. That's the Taylor Swift orange sparkle that she has been masterminding and teasing all over for her new album that she launched last night. And I think Mina has taken it upon herself to dub it onto Mr. Cameron Young.
She came out with a new album last night.
Well, she announced it last night.
So the album's not out yet.
That's right.
Okay. But it's coming out soon.
That's my understanding. Yes.
All right. Well, I won't comment on the orange sparkle, but I will say today is what? August
12th.
Whatever day that comes out, it's very likely that I hear every single song, whether I want to or not. And then I'll hear them again and again and again. All I will listen to with this news you just brought me today, all I will listen to for the remainder of 2025 is likely Taylor Swift.
Okay. Well, now you've got about 2 months to prepare yourself because I think that's when it comes out.
All right, good. So I got a little time.
Got a little bit of time. Cameron Young is Greg's golfer of the week. Let us get it down into the top range. We've talked Cam Young. These are all golfers who are $9,000 or more. Greg, you tell me where to start and let's name some names.
All right. Well, I like Scottie.
Okay. Again.
I mean, I can't just say no to him. You think about the importance of driving. He's the best driver of the golf ball in the game. He's a better driver of the ball than Rory. So he's plenty long and he's extremely accurate. I think there's a importance on putting this week. You look at what happened in 2022. The top 4 finishers were all top 10 in strokes gained putting for the week. Scottie's having his best putting season of his entire career. He's 18th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained putting. I mentioned earlier the more challenging greens, perhaps a little firmer conditions should highlight iron play more. And he's the best iron player in the world. Anywhere you look, he checks the box. And so I just can't leave him out. I just think it's hard to build a lineup with him in it.
Yeah, he's $13,400. And the bottom of this range are the guys who have really kind of leaked oil and held on to get here. Maybe they have racked up a bunch of FedEx Cup points earlier in the year and haven't done much since. It is a difficult bottom of this pool.
And it's slim, right?
Yeah.
You see stuff like this from time to time, but maybe there's a young up and comer, a guy coming from the DP World Tour to play in a PGA Tour event. There's usually something you feel like you can. And honestly, when he's at 13,400, normally there's a $5,000 range.
That's true.
There's not here. And as far as I know, there's still 6 players in the lineup. So it just makes it really tight. And I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, it is worth noting. I mean, you're going to be rostering 12% of the field in every single one of your lineups. Next week, you're going to be rostering like 20% of the field in every single one of your lineups. Now, we talked Rory McIlroy. I don't think we need to sit here and say, oh, Rory McIlroy is good at golf. He's going to be able to, play well. I think that part is understood. I think from our perspective, the comp between Rory and Scottie Scheffler is interesting. Rory is $2,000 cheaper than Scottie is. Let's say this. You're making 10 lineups on DraftKings this week, and you have to have only one of Scottie and Rory in all of them. How many would have Scottie? How many would have Rory?
Either 60-40 Rory or 70-30 Rory.
Okay. So both heavier on the Rory side. Is that skill or pricing?
Pricing.
Yeah.
Now, it helps that the golf course is like Rory's playground. It should be anyway. I love what I'm seeing with Rory on the greens. I've never seen him putt this way before. It's awesome. And he hasn't been driving it like Rory normally does, but he can. And when he sees a golf course like this, he could just, it could click for him. So that's a big factor. And what happens at the other end of the lineup? Like, even there's a guy that we'll get to that I would be willing to play at 6,200. And another, there are two guys in the 6K range that I like. Even with Scottie and those two guys, it's like tough to put a solid 6 together. Could be done, but it's a lot easier with Rory. There's a lot more you can do with him.
Yeah, 2,000 goes a long way in this field. Like you said, there's usually that. I can usually find a Antoine Rosner, Matteo Manacero, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson.
They're not here.
They're not here.
Now, Rory, I think Scottie could win and Rory could finish second, and you could earn comparable points because of the rest of the build. I think that's a possible outcome. So, I don't think Scheffler's a must this week.
The next golfer that you have listed, I'll just tell you it's Ludwig, so you know where I'm going with this, is $10,200. I kind of, before you get into this, I kind of want to say, like, what grade do you give Ludwig's here?
Well, he won a signature event.
Yeah, so automatically it's like minimum B.
It was the biggest win of his career.
Yeah.
It was kind of this is a strange year.
That's what I'm saying.
It's disappointing, but I think it's ultimately still probably a B+.
Okay. That's very fair.
Yeah.
This week,
it's not an A year.
No, it's not an A year. He's struggled for large chunks of it. Didn't contend nearly as much as I'm sure he thought he should, but I'd argue he's playing some of the better golf of it right now.
Yeah. Look at those ball striking numbers.
Yeah.
The driver is starting to return to the consistent form. The iron play, much more importantly, in my opinion, the area of the season, like after Genesis through PGA, where you were like, what is going on with Ludwig? His iron play was terrible. And it's definitely returned. Every event since then, he's gained over a shot approaching the green, and at least over a shot and a half off the tee. Over a shot off the tee, let's say. So you're talking about, 8 or 9 events? It's been really strong performances. The short game's starting to look a little better. Everything's kind of following suit. And right here near the end of the season, I think Ludwig's game is coming together. And on a golf course that really rewards the driver, he's an option. I really like playing him in PGA Tour Fantasy. If you're playing that game where there's no pricing, he's an awesome play this week. And I think it's hard to leave out Rory and Scottie, so it's probably hard to work Ludwig into a DraftKings lineup. But I'm just so impressed with this performance.
From one elite athlete, ball striking maniac to another, Ben Griffin is here, and I love this, Greg. I think that actually, so the T9 last week at Southwind, the T11 at Sedgefield, you said something about those being more accuracy play. I think this is a better fit for Ben Griffin. He's not Rory McIlroy. He's not Cam Young, but I actually think this is a better fit for him to kind of cut it loose a little bit.
He's a 117 clubhead speed guy. He's longer than you think.
Yeah.
Now, that has him somewhere around 80th in driving distance in that general vicinity. So he's plenty long. He's played well at long golf courses this year, like the Memorial, where he came in second. He played well in Houston, finished tied 18th there. Quail Hollow, the PGA Championship, a big, long golf course, played really well. So I think those are starting to look like he just plays well more often than not.
Yeah, he's got a knack for that.
Yeah. I love the way that he putts it. His iron play has been... He's gained strokes on approach in every event since the PGA Championship, and he doesn't take weeks off. So it's been a lot of good golf, a lot of weeks in a row. let's rule out the John Deere in Scotland or Ireland. And he's back on track. He's hard to avoid.
The 8K range, you found two names. One of them, you said this guy has been replaced with your golfer of the week, Cam Young. So remind everybody who that was.
That was Chris Gotterup.
That's right.
In the Ryder Cup thing. And look, it has nothing to do with Chris Gotterup's form.
No, it doesn't.
No, I mean,
it's just he's no longer the hottest player. Now Cam Young's the hottest player.
And he's too far back in the points.
Yeah.
You know, we're down to the nitty-gritty now. Now, he could win this week. He finished tied 54th last week. I think that was a terrible golf course for Chris Gotterup. And I think this is an excellent golf course for Chris Gotterup. Like we talked about before he won, or after, I guess after he won, we talked more about it. But he was we talked about him like every week for every time he teed it up, because it's just top 25 after top 25 after top 25.
Yeah, he's like one of the most, if we did a word cloud of our segments, he'd be one of the most talked about guys of the year, Chris Gotterup.
No doubt, because he tapped into his strength because he found out where the ball was going with his distance. And it's a huge weapon. It's a huge weapon here. Aside from last week, his iron play has been great. Aside from last week, he's been putting it great for, a month straight. Really pleased with the way that Chris Gotterup's game is looking, and I'm willing to give him a pass on last week.
So am I. I agree. That was not a great spot for him. He actually played a lot better on, I think it was the weekend, definitely on Sunday. Yeah, I had a matchup with him against Daniel Berger, beat the crap out of Daniel Berger on Sunday. He picked up 3 shots to the field there. I will say this. So I guess I can say this. Yeah, that's fine. The way that we go into the media last week was like through the players' parking lot. So you'd see like a lot of guys coming through, and he was wearing one of those heated belts as he was getting out of the car on his back. And I was like, first off, it's 100 degrees here and humid. I'm like, is this part of the normal warm-up routine, or has he tweaked something? And then he picked up 3 strokes to the field on Sunday. So I guess he was feeling just fine, but that did worry me for a second.
Yeah. Do you know for sure what it was?
Yeah, I own one. I wear it all the time.
So you have the same brand.
It's the Hyper. Sometimes I thought I'd have it right here. It's the Hyper Ice heating belt for your back thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have any back issues, so I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. But there are other reasons why you might wear it.
Could just be warming it up. Could just be part of his warm up routine.
Yeah, I mean, I drive around with the seat heaters out of my car all the time.
Yeah.
Not in the summer.
I was a little bit, I was sweating, and he was wearing that thing, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
God.
I get the concern.
Here we go. But he played well. I'm happy to report that he played very, very well. So now, your other man in this range is just a little bit cheaper. We get a $200 discount to Harris English.
Yes. I love the way that he's played this year as a whole. His ball striking, which he could play really well without beating the field with his ball striking. I mean, he still hits it great, but he'll lose strokes on approach and finish 12th. He has an amazing ability to do that, but he hasn't been doing that lately. He's been gaining strokes, ball striking all year, consistently all year long. I love that. I do still think there's an importance in putting here. I'm paying attention to it. So pretty much all these guys are like driver putter combos. And I love what I'm seeing out of Harris English. I love on golf courses like this with a lot of long irons, like Quail Hollow, like Muirfield Village, like Torrey Pines, where he won, he tends to play really well.
You and I and Mark are all in on Ricky Fowler. He's $7,900 this week. Do we need to say anything more?
Let's go, Ricky. We can just cheer. I'm so against the anti-Ricky Fowler given awards. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, he's been the punching bag. This is the best golf he's played in a long time, and he's still the punching bag.
People just want to whine about it. They just want to whine. Like Ricky's really good, and he's playing really good golf, and there's a clear development in his game that is starting to peak right now. Hopefully it didn't peak last week. I don't think it did. I love what I'm seeing, especially with the driver.
Speaking of development, this other $7,000 golfer that you have is, believe it or not, despite a recent victory, somehow still flying under the radar. Who is it?
Kurt Kitayama. He's not flying under my radar.
No,
that's for sure. I love what we're seeing out of this guy, especially here. Like for Kurt Kitayama to finish tied 9th last week, just take a listen to what I said about Cameron Young. It's basically the same thing. That was a terrible golf course for him, and he finishes tied 9th. He's been a ball striking maven this year, and he's figured something out with the putter. So he's hot right now. If you listen to him speak, he's very confident with the driver. Feels like he felt like he could hit driver in places at Wyndham and FedEx where he couldn't before. So again, I don't think they're great fits, but he's going to be able to hit driver everywhere here, and he's confident with it. And his iron play is just scorching hot right now.
Yeah, I was looking it up. I can't remember what number of rounds that I was doing, but it was significant. It was like 24 or 36 or maybe more. And the approach play was Scottie Kitayama. Like he's been sick.
Yeah.
He's been sick.
Yeah. So, and now this is a place you might, if it was a full field event here, Kitayama is like not playing well, 6,800. I might pick him anyway, just because of the fit.
There's two golfers in the $6,000 range that we can discuss. Brian Harman made your finishing position grid at $6,900. Likely some of that reprieve that you get salary cap wise for Scottie and Rory.
Yes. Necessary with Scottie or Rory, really. You might be able to do it. If you love the 7K, you might be able to do it without going as low as Brian Harman with Rory, but you need him and another 6K guy with Scottie at the very least, and then load up on 7K guys pretty much. So Brian Harman, this is a driver putter combo. He's been driving it really well. He's been putting really well. I do have an inclination that iron play will be more important this year than it was in 2021. But I still think the bones of this golf course require great driving and great putting. And not everybody on this leaderboard is going to be driving at 330 yards. There will be some shorter hitters in the mix that play really well. I think Brian Harman's the guy to do that.
You teased a few minutes ago that there was a golfer who was $200 that you were willing to go down and grab. That man, Greg, name him.
Yeah, this is Thomas Dietrich.
Hell yeah.
At 6,200. So here's the thing, Rick. The accusation, if I get any, is that I'm a little too chalky. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is when we talk about these things, like, you know, it's nice to have points to make. And going off the board in fantasy golf, sometimes you just got to feel it. But that's terrible analysis. So I typically don't do that. As a result, the picks I make tend to skew on the chalkier side because there's reasons for it. There's not very many reasons, but I look at rickrungood.com and Thomas Dietrich's page. Okay, it's very spotty. But if you look at his, some of the PGA Tour profile stats, what is he? as a player. Like, who is he as a player? He's long. He's a 120 mile an hour club head speed guy. I like that. He's 55th this year in strokes gained off the tee. It's not Rory or Scottie, but it's a good driver. And he's 44th on tour in strokes gained putting as well. So he's very capable in that area. So we got a long guy, a long hitter who can putt well, even though he hasn't been putting great lately. Can putt well, puts well on bent as well. You know, he's like a 0.40 guy on bent. So I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of that profile. And 6,200, you got to get down in this. You got to take a chance on somebody down here in this range. I thought Dietrich was the guy.
I have this weird sneaking suspicion that Min priced Brian Campbell, who has won twice on golf courses that are probably not great for him, is going to find a way to like win on a golf course that is the absolute worst place in the world for him.
That's your feeling, huh?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I like it.
It's like if we're doing the gut stuff, it's just Brian Campbell's gonna smoke me.
Oh my, that I would be literally shocked. He's so short.
Yes, he's the only guy on tour that I could like 1 out of 10 beat in a long drive competition.
Like he's 162 ball speed.
Yeah, I'm like 156.
There was a time this year where he was on the PGA Tour website. He was 158 ball speed.
Wow. Good for him. I like the guy.
He won twice this year.
It's insane.
And he could compete here.
BMW Championship, Caves Valley. Greg, anything else?
I can't wait to see the action. Can't wait to see the action.
We'll be back on Friday. It'll be you and I. Mark is Roll Tide. And then we'll do it on Sunday as well. I'm not sure what Mark's situation is on Sunday, so we'll have to figure that out. Okay. I think we're all set. Big thanks to producer Mina. She does all the hard work behind the scenes. For Mark Immelman, for Greg DuCharme, for Rick Gehman. This is The Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.